Clicking every wrong button you possibly can. Well, it is a Monday, the 29th of August. We're almost done the summer, getting ready for September. Whoop, whoop. Got to go through the calendar. Right? Got to go through the calendar, plan our trading week, review Jackson Hole, all that kind of stuff, and answer your questions. Let's go. Yeah, hey. Welcome to Forex.Today. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Always stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Boom! Yeah. Hey, my name is Wayne McDonell. I'm the Chief FX Market Strategist for TradersWay.com. We're a Forex broker. You're a trader. Let's dance and fall in love. It's pretty simple here. Here's what the plan is. I'm here every day, 7:30 in the morning, which is London lunch. A couple hours before the New York Open. I'm here with the overriding goal of making you a huge success. So that when you develop skills that you can count on and feel confident in, and you are emotionally ready to trade real money and start your Forex trading career, that you will choose TradersWay.com as your prime broker. Not just because you can choose between a variable spread, a fixed spread, or an ECN. Not just because of that. Or excellent execution speeds. And I've tested them versus the big boys, and we're fast. But just purely out of loyalty and respect for the time that we've spent together. How about that? Friday, I'm at FXStreet.com for non-farm payrolls live. I don't know which one. I think we're getting pretty close to, what, 125, maybe? Somewhere in there. Oh, Lionel says happy with Traders Way. Right on. Very nice. Yeah, traders, 125 non-farm payrolls in a row, huh? That's pretty cool. At FX Street, I'm also Forex Speaker of the Year, which ain't bad either. So again, thank you for your loyalty. You have a nice weekend? Fernando says, why did I choose finance? Not dentistry. You know what? I didn't choose finance. I was a high-tech entrepreneur. And had a business for a while in that space when I was very, very young. Ended up helping other young entrepreneurs meet angel investors and venture capitalists and stuff, and I realized entrepreneurs knew nothing, nothing But they had revolutionary ideas that changed the world, but they knew nothing about raising money. So I started helping entrepreneurs, teaching them about term sheets that they negotiate with venture capitalists and stuff. And pretty soon I knew most of the venture capitalists in the Silicon Valley. And then I was surrounded, because of that, and all the entrepreneurs, then I was surrounded by all these service providers like lawyers and accountants. And all of a sudden, I was doing quite well in the Silicon Valley. It was really nice. Then I worked for a company that was about to go out of business because they ran out of money, couldn't raise any venture capital. So they became their director of sales, and a couple of years later, they were making $1 million a month. We had no investors. It wasn't like funny money or anything. We actually made money, made cash. Cash would come through the door. $1 million a month. By then, we had about 300 employees. And I remember one day I was walking down. We had moved into yet another building. We'd keep moving because we kept growing. And all of a sudden, I didn't know anybody because I hired people that were hiring people that were hiring other people. We had all these different departments. I was already running 7 departments. And I'm like, I don't know anybody here anymore. So I quit. Yeah. Became a venture capitalist. That was fun. Did that for a while. Grew that company from 100 to about 300 people. And I was doing really well. They made me vice president of the firm within my first year, which is really nice. I was doing things that I like to do. Made 100 different investments. And then I ran into Forex. And so that's how I got into, if you want to call venture capital finance, to me it was more like part of the entrepreneurial part of Silicon Valley. Right? You get that, Fernando? So I didn't go that way. And at that point, when I started watching Forex, I'd never bought, well, actually, I should be careful. I had bought one stock before, actually 2 stocks. I'd only owned 2 stocks my entire life. So I wasn't really like someone that traded the stock market or the, gold and oil or something like that. I'd never traded anything before, but at that time I owned Apple and Cisco Systems. Fernando says, then I got certified as a CFA. I'm not a CFA. There'd be no need for you to be a CFA in Forex. I mean, what are you going to do? Calculate the convexity of bonds? What does that have to do with anything, right? But anyway, so that's how I got into Forex. I was one day reading an article that it was $2 trillion a day, and I fell out of my chair and I said, holy. And I was smart enough to go where the money was, to follow the money, right? And that's, and then I fell in love or got addicted or whatever it was. Are you Lionel's friend starting a VC firm? Cool. Yeah, like I said, when we started, we started, or when I started there, they had about 100 employees, and a year later we had, I don't know, certainly 200, probably more closer to 300. But the thing is, if I recall, I ran a team of 10 people maybe? 5 people? 10 people. 10 people? And there might have been 10 more. There was a second team. And we were the investment team, and we worked with the review board. So if we would recommend to our review board what we should invest in, and then we'd bring in experts. And by then we'd already we had like a quant type team that would do market research and stuff while we were deciding whether we should invest or not. So I could go to a PhD or an MBA and say, hey, here's what the product is, here's what it does, here's what I think the competitors are, do a report on the entire market and get it back to me as soon as possible so I can look at this, right? Competitive analysis and SWOT and all that kind of stuff. But once you actually made the investment, then we needed to bring that technology to market. And that required way more people. So like the office was divided in two. The investment team, right? And like I said, maybe there's 20, 25 if you include management and stuff on that side. And then there was like 250 people on the other side of the wall. Once we made the investment, then the hard work started, right? So, because remember, and you know, any idiot can invest money. Once you make the investment, then the work starts, right? All right, so we got to go through the calendar. Usually around this time, TradeTheNews.com does like a morning report. So I got that going in my ear, and if it starts, I'll let you know. Ken, this is it. I am the Forex.Today support team. What's wrong, Kenny boy? Miles says, do you need to be certified CTA to trade other people's money? In the United States of America, you will need a Series 3, a Series 34. You need to be registered, your firm or your firm or whatever firm you're looking for needs to be registered as a off exchange spot foreign exchange trading firm. And you will also need to be a member of the National Futures Association. Yes, we know only the COT for Euro works, yes. That's not us, it's the service provider that provides it. All right. Oh, hang on. Maybe we missed the morning report from Trade the News. Oh well. All right, so let's go through the calendar then. Where's my drawing tool? Life is great. That's not it. Life is grand. Life is good. You don't have permission to edit this post. So Ken, you click upload, and you upload an image, and then what? You fill that out, and it says there's a problem? Yeah, that is strange, Ken. Oops, I just killed the whole website. Okay, send me an email, wayne@fxbootcamp.com.
Hour here in New York, coming up on 1200 GMT. Continues to be a relatively quiet New York pre-market session as UK remains closed for a holiday. We saw the Nikkei rally some 2.33% earlier in the day on the back of a weaker Japanese yen. Over the weekend, we did see the Bank of Japan's Kuroda follow comments from Chair Yellen and Vice Fisher and many other Fed members on Friday, where he indicated that they could even move lower, and they still have levers to pull in terms of financial stimulus. That has put some pressure on the Japanese yen. The dollar in general has remained stronger from Friday's close into today. The euro back below 112 and cable below 131, down another 0.4% in cable. Again, overall, the market, the trade today has been headlined by relative quietness. European bourses outside the FTSE are trading lower, about a 0.75% decline across the board. Bond markets are trading mixed. The U.S. Treasury market getting back a small portion of Friday's sell-off. Interest rates are slightly higher across much of Europe. The French and the German 10 years up about 2.5 to 3 basis points on the day. The U.S. looking down 1.5 basis points from Friday's close, but did break out of that 2.5-month range at 1.61% now in the U.S. 10-year yield. Crude futures are down 1.33% at $47 in the WTI contract.
All right, I guess that's the amazing report of the day. You didn't see her speak, Lionel? All right, so let's get going. Drawing tools should be there. All right, good. All right. All right, so we're looking at today. Remember, banks are closed in the UK today. We got PCE coming out, which is, and the important parts of this are like income, for example, and spending and savings. And this stuff's important because these are subcomponents of GDP. How much do you earn? Because it doesn't matter if you have a job or not. If somehow you're earning money, that's all that matters, right? And then you're like, well, if you're earning money, how much do you spend? Right? And how much do you save? How much gets spent? 70% of GDP in the United States is consumer spending. And we know that from things like PCE. Okay? So we want people spending money. So the economy has been improving for the last several years. Unemployment's been dropping precipitously over that period. So that people having jobs and working, maybe it's not great employment or something, but at least they're working, gives them an opportunity to do things like pay down their debts. Also, housing prices have been going up about 10% a year. I think my house is up about 40% since I bought it, something like that. So, so that, you know, lowers the income to debt ratio, but also gives, you know, if you were underwater, you're no longer underwater. Or if you bought at the right time, now you have equity, and you can now withdraw that equity if you want and spend it. You know, see what I mean? So all that is good, and if you spend it, and let's say your home is worth more than your mortgage, you decide to withdraw some money and redo the kitchen, well, that's going to be good for Home Depot and jobs and all that kind of stuff, and contractors, and, you know, so anyways. The Japanese news today doesn't say anything, but I think Fisher's speaking. Is it today or tomorrow? Maybe it says here. It doesn't say here. What's his title? Vice chairman or something? So anyways, pretty light on the news today, except that PCE is quite important. Okay. Tomorrow, a lot of Euro news. Okay, European or German CPI. Okay. Okay. You know, good. Okay, fine. I wouldn't expect much there. It's news. I wouldn't expect much inflation out of Germany. But, pay attention. CPI is an important indicator. Even if it's not now, it still is an important indicator. And Germany is an important exporting country. Okay. Case-Shiller comes out tomorrow. It used to be much more important when the housing market was a prime focused. It's not necessarily a prime focus anymore because we have bigger concerns or different concerns. It used to be a bigger concern. So Case-Shiller got really important. I don't really pay attention to it because Shiller teaches at Yale. So who cares? And then USC ConCon. Oh yeah, Schiller also won the Nobel Prize. But besides that. So anyways, 10 o'clock with consumer confidence. I don't really care about consumer confidence. That's just me. How about industrial production out of Japan? Is that important? Yes, that is important. Considering that Japan is trying to actually produce things, that's going to be important. And Aussie new home sales, yeah, so like if you read the RBA, Reserve Bank of Australia's meeting minutes, and other publications, one thing they are worried about with low interest rates and falling interest rates is that money moves too much into the housing market. Like a housing bubble that occurred in the United States. So they're worried about things like that. So you don't want to see a very mediocre economy and booming housing prices, right? Booming new home sales. So, they want that to be not falling, but not skyrocketing either, right? German unemployment, yep. Oh, Miles says, why did this case Schiller get more important? Well, because we were in a housing crash. Not anymore, but we were. So suddenly we're like, are we recovering? Are we recovering? Are we recovering? The Case Shiller report, just in case you don't know what it is simply housing prices in like 20 cities across the United States. Are housing prices going up or down? They're going up. Next, we don't care anymore. Because what we cared about are they falling? Yes, they're falling. Oh no! And then another month goes by. Are they still falling? Yes, they're still falling. Oh no! But now they go up and 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 up every month up. So that's fine. So who cares? It's just not a concern anymore. Because it's also paper money, right? Or it's sort of like owning a $25 million of options on Google stock, but you drive a Kia. And the reason for it is, well, you're worth 25 million on paper, but you can't eat your options, right? So unless you withdraw the equity from your house, you don't have the cash. But if you withdraw the equity, now you have debt. So you're converting debt into equity, into cash. So I don't know. Just don't spend your principal, right? So for example, if you take equity out of your home because it's gone up in value, and you buy a car with it, then you're an idiot financially speaking. You might be a smart person, great intentions. But if you withdraw money from something that goes up in value month after month, and you convert that into like a car that loses value month after month, not only did you waste $50,000 on a car that every month loses value, your home would have kept going back up higher and higher, but now your debt's bigger. So it's like you essentially threw that away. So it's just dumb. But if you take money out of your house and you, I don't know, like build a swimming pool and it costs $50,000, but because you have a swimming pool, the value of your house goes up $50,000. Now you got your pool for free. That would be wise. So anyways, Wednesday. Okay, so you know, Eurozone GDP, yeah, obviously that's going to be high. Eurozone CPI, yeah. Can you have a high Eurozone CPI when Germany doesn't? Probably not, right? So you can imagine the previous day's German CPI is going to be influential on the Eurozone CPI. Okay. Now Wednesday we have another dumb prediction at 8:15, and that's a good scalp. And I have a feeling it's going to be a great scalp this month. You guys want to do that one with me? Okay. Oh, Miles asks a follow-up question. So now people look at it with more interest. No, you're not getting it. They used to. Because they were asking a very simple question. Are housing prices continuing to fall? No. Are housing prices stable? Yes. In fact, are housing prices going up? Yes. Done. We're not interested anymore. There's just, okay, great. They're going up. So what? I got it. Right? Does it really matter if it went up 7.3% versus 7.4% expected? No. I mean, dude, they're going up. We're fine. Let's look at other things. And, you know, jobs. Yes, we got jobs. Great. Got it. How about income? Okay, that's important. Right? So we're going back to PCE now. Do you have a job but it pays a little bit, you know, half as much as it used to? Well, then, you know, a job at half your income is going to mean that you're not going to be able to pay down your debt. You're not, right? You're not going to be able to save. You're not going to spend. All your money goes to paying bills. You see what I mean? So you got to think just like these are all building blocks. Housing prices in the United States, they're fine. Next, go on to a different question. How's the job market? Great. Next, how's the income? Not so good. Oh, well, let's zoom in on that. Let's break that down into income, savings, spending. Okay, and now you can zoom on to that. And why are those important? Those are all subcomponents to GDP. Hoorah. All right, so anyways, ADP, another dumb prediction. It's just a scalping opportunity. And it's a warm-up for non-farm payrolls on Friday. Okay. So I expect somewhere between 600 and 800 people at non-farm payrolls on Friday. Are you going to be there? It's the most popular webinar on FX Street by far. Yeah. FX Ambassador. Yes, it's going to be a good number. All right, cool. Glad you're confident. So anyways, ADP, another dumb prediction, is simply a prelude. It's private sector jobs, small, medium-sized businesses, SME, small, medium enterprises. Great. Canadian GDP. Yeah, that ain't going to be too good. But, you know, Wednesday you should trade kitty cat. Or Tuesday you should trade kitty cat. And say, oh, I think CAD's going to be weak, for example. I don't know. Make a decision. So you say, CAD's going to be weak. Sell the CAD, move your stop to break even, and hope you survive in that trade all the way till the news comes out, and then further hope that the numbers come out bad and the Canadian dollar weakens and you go from 50 pips profit to 150 pips profit. Great. Pending home sales out of the U.S. Okay, good. We want to make sure that's on trend. We're moving towards the end of the summer, however. And so do people buy new houses in September and October? Or I get just home sales. Yeah, so are September and October supposed to be good months? Miles, it's in the training course. You have to look up current account and capital account, for example, and balance of trade. Those are all things you can, okay? Right, because you need to be in your house before September and October. So this is the last one that I care about. Okay, pending home sales. If you're not going to, the deal ain't going to happen, right? If I'm going to buy a house like at Christmas time, I better get a deal. You know what I mean? Yes, Miles. So you can Google balance of trade, balance of payments, current account, capital account, or you could take the fundamentals course. Okay. Chinese PMI. Should we care about Chinese manufacturing activity? Yes, you should. And the likeliness is, you know, it's going to be mediocre. Anything below 50 is disappointing. So you get things like this, like 49.9. That's when you just know the government's manipulating it. And I don't care. Don't get hung up on that. But like, how does the government actually know the difference between 49.9 and 50? So if they're acknowledging it's less than 50, it's probably more like 42, not 49.9. You're like, oh, it's almost 50. It's just barely contracting. No, I bet you it's contracting a lot. But anyways, don't get hung up on the fact that it's probably manipulated. Don't worry about it. It just is what it is. Australian retail sales, yeah, we care about that. Do the Aussies feel comfortable spending money? Yeah, we want to know that, right? Are you guys watching the Daily 21 on that Aussie yen? Yeah, I am. Thursday, what are you going to trade? European PMI, UK PMI, whatever. Weekly jobless claims, who cares? Canadian PMI, who cares? ISM. Okay. Yeah, ISM's good. Okay. And ISM's interesting, in particular the manufacturing part of ISM. I used to describe this as trickle-down economics, and it's a way for you to see how well the warehouse worker or the factory worker is doing. A good number there is good for the average Joe kind of thing. The forklift worker, how are they doing in the economy? Because we know the bankers are doing great and so on and so forth, right? By the way, I'm meeting up for a cigar with probably the largest the head of the largest foreign exchange trading desk in the southeast of the United States, of 1,000 miles from me. You can go 1,000 miles in all directions, and he runs the largest foreign exchange trading desk. Meet up for a cigar. Speaking about banks, that's got me thinking about banks. All right. No, we're just smoking cigars. Talking shop, girls gossip. All right. So should we care about producer price index? All right. Should we worry about PPI on non-farm payrolls Friday? Oh, PPI. Did you get that construction data out of Great Britain? It was funny, huh? Yeah, we're going to be worried about non-farm payrolls. That's cool. Where's my ISM services? Is that supposed to be on here? 10 o'clock ISM services? Life is great, life is grand, life is good. You want to see something cool? Check this out. Next week. Where's my ISM services? There it is. Wow, Monday. It's a strange day for ISM services. Huh. Cool. So anyway, so we got non-farm payrolls. Great, 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 great. This is all good. Right, U.S. trade balance. Hey, aight, Miles, aight. Trade balance. Balance of trade, otherwise known. Factory orders. Another way of looking, you can look at inventories, right? If inventory is falling, hopefully orders are rising. Cool. Miles, no, seriously, no, we ran into each other. And I'm like, hey, man, I want to ask you some stuff. And he's like, yeah, anytime. I'm like, all right, let me buy you lunch. He's like, I don't really have time for that. I'm like, well, I need to trap you for at least an hour at a time. How about a cigar? And he's like, yeah, sure. Boom. That's it. Couple of Forex girls getting together for some giggles. Yeah, it's a mandate. Bromance. So anyways, and then we got the rig count coming out, which is pretty nice. And then, we got over the weekend some nice Chinese news. So anyways, I like this week news-wise. It's enough, but it's not too much. So did you guys download and read the Chilean Central Bank meeting minutes for August? Brooke, I'll do it, but you have to give me $100. Oh, you know what? Let's just do it anyways. All right, we'll do it. Anyways, before we get going, let's review. So guys, you need to upload images. Couple of things here. There's no image, hide traders, trade plan, we are at technical levels. All right, so that's not a trade plan. Stay focused. Every moment in the market is unique. All right, great. What you need is a trade plan. I see this, this, and this, therefore I'm going to do that, that, and that. Here's my entry, here's my stop, here's my target. And here are at least 2 or 3 images about it. Also, don't post your analysis into Forex books. Post it into Forex trading ideas. Okay? Oh, I'm not logged in. So it's going to ask me to log in. Okay? So I'm going to have to delete that, Kenny boy. So let's look at like, here's a trade plan. Okay? So he talks about what has happened in Jackson Hole, his thoughts about it. Okay? Right? So he goes to the, he's noting the fact that there's an increase in the chances of interest rates going up based on the Fed watch data. He's got to stop. He's got to trade, sell here, stop loss here, target here, and a corresponding image. Okay? Multiple time frames, right? That's a trade plan. Post it in Forex Trading Ideas. And he went as far as to add tags, which is really nice. I'm going to thumb up that thing. Miles. Thank you, Miles. Miles leaves a very nice comment and detailed. Appreciate that. So that's awesome. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's moving toward glory. Okay. Nick, I need to address your language. Nick says, are you going to buy Euro USD because it's open at the M2? I never do that. I don't even think that way. I'm going to buy it because it's at M2. No, if I'm going to buy it, it's because I'm a bull and it's at M2, but not because it's M2. M2 doesn't make me a bull. Sorry, Nick T, yeah. I'm Nick T and I get respect. Your cash and your pips are what I expect. Yeah. Okay, Nick. So like I said, on the weekend, you should already know whether you're a bull or a bear. Okay? Okay. Okay. So my M2 is higher up. So you mean, did you buy, you're asking buying this? Okay. Well, the issue is, what's important here is the Fed will hike, which means dollar up, which means this pair down. Okay? That's what matters. Okay? And that's why this didn't even retrace. There wasn't even enough bulls to drive us up to our sell zone. Think of that. There wasn't even enough bulls to even get us to our sell zone. Okay. So if you bought it in here, it's not a bad thing. We know now it didn't work out, which is fine too, because you would have just gotten knocked out maybe a break even or a small loss. But you got to be careful going against the fundamentals. Okay. Okay. So uh, uh, oh. So it looks like interest rates are set to go up. By December. Okay. Right in here. 30% chance in September. Adding this up, you're almost looking at 50% by December. Okay. Oh, how do I use monthly and weeklies on the same chart? There's two techniques. One, you use two different pivot point indicators. One for weekly, one for monthly. Or you find an indicator that will plot more than one at the same time. And there are some that do that. So you can go, here, let me just, okay. And then you can go insert indicators, custom. You can do, I think it's this one. Weekly, true, monthly, true. See, and that one does both. Weekly, monthly. Okay. That's the top of the week right there. So there's the two ways. Down, 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 up, up, sell. Isn't that nice? Another way of looking at it is down, 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 back to the 21, down. Oops. Pretty straightforward price action. Higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, right? Roll reversal, higher, low, double top, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. This is called a reversal, right? Oops. Is this a V shape? Is that a V shape reversal? Right. YJ says it's the Forex market reverses like an old man easing into a hot bath. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So last week, pound yen opened up here and rallied up. Last week, the low on euro yen was here and rallied up. USD yen, the low was here and rallied up. Last week, the Aussie yen was down here and rallied up. Last week, even the kitty cat, I have to zoom in because it was hurt so much by falling oil prices. But even last week, CAD was down here and rallied up. And then last week, Kiwi yen was down here and rallied up. On the third week of August, every yen pair rallied up. PCE, no surprises. Okay. So every yen pair rallied up last week, the third week of August, and I told you the first week of January. How would you grade something like that where I tell you almost 9 months in advance the specific week in which you should short Japanese yen? And every yen pair went up. How does that make you feel? I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Isn't it a weird feeling? By the way, PCE as expected across the board. I'll give you an example. On this account, this is the one I did with you guys. Okay, we were down into support, lower high, double bottom, right? Higher low, higher high, and I bought right here to 3. So this was Tuesday, I think. And you can see the entry off of the roll reversal, right? It seems very, very basic, doesn't it? Okay. And now we're up here. 1, 2, 3. Right? Isn't that the kind of thing that we're looking for? right? There's the range. Then the breakout. So 1 off the range, 2 higher than the range, 3 is the retracement to the range. Long, survived the first pullback. You could add a second one here, which I actually mentioned on Thursday. End of the week up, way up here, missed the target by just pips. Roll reversal again off the 21, and now we're way up here. Aaron, I'm going to hold that trade until at least Thanksgiving. So I'll be in the trade 10 weeks. So the target is a function of time, not price. Yeah, anytime, Piper. Or Pipper, I should say. Pipes. So did anybody long the end pairs last week? The target is a function of time, not price. Great job, James. James, was it you and I? We went through like last year on a yen pair, hour by hour by hour for 6 months. Oh, wasn't okay. So now what? Well, now you got to wait for your pullbacks. Remember, there's always going to be pullbacks. One thing that we could look at is like USD yen. Boo. Okay, and are you going to catch a pullback? That's all you have to worry about. There'll be something somewhere at some time, right? I guess instead of doing this one, let's do Beast. You guys trade the Beast? Probably like, yeah. All right. This is a 15-minute chart. Wouldn't this be an interesting area? Come on, drawing tool. I hate triple clicking to get things done. Okay. Well, then, shouldn't that be something that's being planned right now? Yeah, I think so too. Okay, see how there's only monthly pivots here? Insert, indicator, custom, FX boot camp, weekly, monthly. We need weeklies, we don't need monthlies. There we go. I know, I know, I know. The only cluster I see is the weekly support, monthly M2. I find that hard to believe, though, that we head down that far, because that would create a lower low, right? For example, right? I don't want to see that, because then you'd get like this kind of thing going. You don't want to see that. Right? So what would happen? Well, here, here, and here, right? So therefore, you got to fib that. 618 predicts a 1382. So you go from here to 1382 and then down to the roll reversal, right? I'd rather see that. Aaron says, but won't it be hard to give pound dollar strength as well? Well, you know, now you're talking pound. And I'm not talking pound, I'm talking yen. So yeah, so you bring up the point, if you don't want to sell if you don't want to buy the pound, then buy something else. Right? And I'm good with that. Pound dollar is going to fall for a while, isn't it? So this daily wants to drop. Current support is here. Okay. So my guess is like, and this is just a guess, but you know, hear me out on this. Let's say this heads down. Let's get some more time on here. Okay, let's say this heads down to the third week of September. What happens third week of September? Fed hike, okay? Will they raise interest rates, yes or no? No, okay? Then this goes up. Lots of question marks, right? The election and so on and so forth. and then maybe they raise in December. I think they kind of have to in December. By the way, we're about 18 minutes away from the interest rate decision for the shekel, or the BOI. So I know you downloaded the Chilean meeting minutes, right? So maybe you can trade the shekel here on the announcement. People expect them to leave interest rates at 0.1%. So the Mexican peso is about to get strong, right? You guys going to trade it? It's hard to do it against the dollar, though, huh? But it's always hard to do that against the dollar. All right. So the idea is this is going to fall in the next few days. It's going to fall. So do you sell it now? No, but what if you did this? Then that would be better, right? Do you like that it's a double top off of the monthly central pivot? Yeah. So I told you about this last week. So the question is, do you plan anything this week? And that's going to be your decision. Remember, there's $2.1 billion about to go onto that trade. $2.1 billion USD, not Rand. Brooke asks about trend line retracements and probably mean reversions and all that kind of stuff. I don't like trend lines per se because they're subjective. It doesn't mean mean reversions are not, normal. Of course they're normal. But I'd rather use the moving average for that. Okay? Paul asks, $2.1 billion short. By who? Why does that matter? $2.1 billion is $2.1 billion no matter who's doing it. Yeah, but Brooke, we're talking fundamentals now. Okay, hang on. Let's see if this will work. Hang on. Let me type this into YouTube. I'm not logged in or anything. How to trade the Mexican peso. I guess I'll type it in. Mexican peso. How to trade 12-minute Forex trading strategy. How to scalp the Mexican peso and why it works. How does that sound? Oh, it's on the Forex.Today YouTube channel? Oh, snap. Somebody better subscribe. Imagine that video's been there all this time and you still don't know. That's where you should kick something and say, son of a... Oh, look. Rob Booker will also show you. There you go. Yeah, no worries, Kev. All right, let's call it a day. It's my first day of classes at Harvard. I've enjoyed my 2-week summer vacation. 2-week summer vacation, yeah. Yeah, back to work, you lazy dogs. So I have looking forward to that. But, you know, I like thinking. I enjoy thinking. It's a very interesting thing. I really do enjoy it. So right now I'm reading Milton Friedman, which is, you know, I get it, but it's good to go back and review these things. And then, you know, have to write serious papers about them. So now you have to go through the readings line by line and taking notes and stuff. And I kind of like that. And I like to think about it and talk about it with my wife and kids and friends and stuff. And then the next one I'm going to go back and redo John Locke, which I read earlier this summer. Turns out it's part of my reading in one of my courses this year. So it's interesting to go back and look at sort of like comparing social structure of human beings and sort of the laws of nature and the laws of humanity, but then how that gets taken to create things like government and society and economies. And it's just, you know, just really interesting to go back and look at these concepts by some of these writings that are old, right? Some are from the 1950s, but some are from the 1750s, and, you know, putting them all together, and that's interesting stuff. What else are you going to do? But, you know, it's funny when you get all your reading, and you're like, oh, you know, read Adam Smith, read Karl Marx, read John Locke, read Machiavelli, read Friedman. I'm like, yeah, I've read all of that already. All right, fine, well, read it again. So, anyways, it's an interesting study. So, gotta go. Peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May your profits be above average. I'll see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. Will you be here tomorrow? Right on. I'm already looking forward to it. Take care, my friend.